Hi everyone, thank you for joining this session. My name is Nimrod Gera and I manage the QuizCon product group. And today I'm going to speak about one of our apps for SharePoint Online called QuizCon Scan app. Just a quick overview for those who are not familiar with QuizCon. We've been developing and selling apps, add-ons and apps for SharePoint and SharePoint Online since 2005, and we operate from Toronto, Canada. Now, ScanApp is just one of our many other apps which are all included as part of our QuizCon modern apps for SharePoint Online and Teams. As you can see, we've got many apps for forms and printing and scanning and so on. And as I mentioned today, I'm going to speak just about this Scan app. Before I start demonstrating the product, I'd like to highlight some of the main features that I think worth mentioning. The first one, which I know is super important for customers, is around security and privacy. Now, as you might know, there are two kinds of apps for SharePoint Online. First one, which is very common, is a provider-hosted app. And these apps are actually server-side components, which are hosted and are executed on the vendor's cloud servers. So when you're using such an app, you see some UI on your SharePoint page, and when you activate it, you send a request. The processing is actually done on the vendor's server on the cloud. Some of your data may be saved, temporarily saved on the provider's database for caching purposes or for additional processing, and then you get the results. So this is a provider-hosted app. All QuizCon apps, by design, are SharePoint-hosted apps. Now, SharePoint-hosted apps are not using any server-side, any cloud server components. So they are 100% client-side, which means all the code runs on your browser. And this means that your data never leaves your tenant. And this is true for all QuizCon apps. Now, some additional features or design concepts, unlike many other scan tools for SharePoint, QuizCon Scan app, like all our apps, is fully integrated into SharePoint UI. It means that you're not using some external tool that may connect to SharePoint, but you're working for SharePoint like you always did. So if you go to a modern library, you will see the scan menus in the modern list toolbar. Okay. Additional feature is the ability to configure and decide if you want to scan and have the results as one merged PDF document, or maybe you prefer to have a file per page. Okay, this is of course relevant when you're doing bulk scan of many pages. The professional edition of QuizCon Scan app supports multi-lingual OCR, and by default you have the English language, but you can add any other language supported by Windows. So as you can see in the screenshot, you just can add additional languages. And additional feature related to OCR is the Zonal OCR, which enables you to automatically extract property values from selected regions in the scanned papers. And this feature is very useful when you need to scan the same type of documents over and over again. And by mapping these areas in a template, when you bulk scan many of these pages, you won't need to tag them later on. You won't need to manually update their properties because the produced PDF documents will have automatically their properties updated by the Zonal OCR feature. And of course, I will show this in the upcoming demo. Okay, that's about the slides. What I'm going to do now is show you the basic scanning experience, and then I'll move on to working with Zonal OCR templates and using those templates. Okay, so let's go over the most basic scenario where an end user just needs to scan a single paper. So when you go to the modern library, here I have the quotes library. You'll see the scan document menu in the toolbar. And once you click it, you'll get this pop-up offering you three options for scanning. And you see these three options because I configured it to show it to the user. There are other configurations that I'll show later. So the first one is edit settings and scan, which means when you click it, you'll see edit scan properties page where you can configure some options for your current scan. Scan using default settings will directly do the scan and get you to the preview page. So you won't be able to set up any scan settings. They're already set up for you by the admin. And the third one is the quick scan or silent mode, where you don't see any scan settings and you also don't see the preview. You just scan and boom, you see the result files in your library. So it depends how you want your end users to work with the scan app. So once you click the edit scan settings, the first option, you'll see this edit settings page with the most basic settings, like what output format you want, and do you want to produce a single or multiple documents if you're scanning multiple pages. So PDF was configured as the default settings, but of course you can select other output formats. And as I said, you can choose to have one file per scan. So if you scan 10 pages, it will result in one merged PDF file, or one file per page. So if you scan the same 10 pages, you'll get 10 documents. Okay. Once you finish setting up your preferred options for this current scan, you click scan. Now, if this is the first time you're using QuizCom Scan, you'll be prompted to install the QuizCom client components. What are the client components? So the part of the QuizCom Scan app is the QuizCom Client Agent and the QuizCom Scan Client. These are desktop executables that are in charge of communicating with your local or network scanner and on uploading the result documents back to SharePoint. So this is a one-time installation. By the way, if you don't want your users, your end users, to be prompted with this, or maybe they don't have the permissions to install executables on their desktop, you can automate this installation using group policies. We provide also offline installers. You can get them from our website. Okay, so the scan was done. The QuizCom Scan client will open, showing you the scan document. And you have some additional options here. As I mentioned, you have the OCR settings. Now, when you click the OCR settings, you see this, and you might notice that the Make PDF Searchable using OCR checkbox is checked by default. So by default, you don't need to set up anything about OCR. It is activated by default. So you got OCR working. So what's left to do is just click the upload and save. And once you click it, the document will be uploaded back to SharePoint library, and you'll see the edit properties page. And this is where you need to manually update the new scan documents properties. Here I have a title, quote date, quote ID, company, and account. And now I need to update them manually. Now, if you look at the document that I scanned, it actually includes all these properties as part of the document. So this is where zonal OCR will be very useful. Instead of having me update these properties manually, I can mark these areas in the scan document, and they will be automatically extracted when I scan the same type of document. Here I have a quote document. Okay, and this is what we're going to do now. Okay, so this is my quotes library, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to scan again the same quote paper, but this time I'm not going to save it back to SharePoint. What I'm going to do is use the property mapping feature, the zonal OCR feature, to map these specific properties, and create the property mapping template, and then I'll show you how to use it when you need to scan the same type of documents again. So clicking scan document, and let's click scan using default settings, so no setting page is presented. Okay, so here's my scan document, and now I'm going to click map properties. So here we have the property mapping editor. On the left side, I see my scanned quote. We can make it bigger a bit. And on the right side, this is where I start mapping the properties. So looking here at add a column, let's select the account column. These are the columns that I have in my quotes library, okay? So selecting the account column, now I see this draggable area that I can use to map the exact location of my account property. Okay, so I want to map this part in my scanned paper to the account column. Okay, and we can make it bigger a bit. And let's do the same thing with the other column. So I have company here, and this should go here to the company, but it's a bit difficult to have these two regions so close to each other. So I can go here and selecting zone display options to display just only the selected columns zone. So now I see only the company column zone. So I should map this area. And let's continue with quote date. This is easy, it's here. And finally, I have quote ID. Quote ID is here. Okay, so I finished mapping all my properties. So if I click a column on the right side here, I see its mapped region on the document. Okay, so everything is mapped. Next thing I need to do is click the extract values button, and it will use the OCR to extract the values and display them here for each of my columns. So I'm just looking at it to make sure it was extracted all right. And I want to save it as a template. So let's first rename it. The default name is new template. I'm going to rename it to QuizCom quote. And then I want to save it. Now, you have two options to save it. You can save it as a local template, which means I can use it later on my computer. But if I want also other users to be able to use this template, because I'm not the only one scanning quotes, I would save it to the library settings. So it will be saved in the quotes library in SharePoint. Now, of course, this option will be available only if I have permissions to save it in the library settings. So I need to have an owner permissions over the list. Okay, so I'm saving it in the list. And now, if I wanted to apply the mapping to this specific document and upload it to SharePoint, I'd have to click Save and Close. But I don't want to upload this specific page to SharePoint. I just wanted to create my template. So I'm just closing this, and I'm also closing the client scanner. And that's it. I'm aborting this scan operation. I didn't scan and upload anything. I just created a template. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is use this template by scanning 3 other quotes and apply this template to automatically extract these 3 quotes properties. Okay, so again, scan documents, and I'm clicking edit settings and scan, and this time I'm selecting here 1 file per page because I'm going to scan 3 quotes, and I want to have as a result 3 separate quote documents. Okay, clicking scan. Okay, so these are my 3 scan quotes. Clicking map properties, and you see that by default the QuizCom quote template was loaded, and you see the marked areas here. It was loaded by default because it's the only template in my library. If I had multiple templates, I would have to mark the one that I want to be loaded as default by clicking set as default. But if I have only one template, there's no need for it. Now, what I need to do is click extract values. So values are extracted from the 3 pages. Okay, and if I want to check each of the documents, I can navigate between my scanned pages. This is the first page. You see the second page now has different values, and this is my 3rd page. Okay, so everything is all right. Now to apply this, I need to click Save and Close, and now you see this icon, which means mapping was applied on each of these documents. And finally, upload and save. Now the scanned pages, the produced PDF documents are uploaded to SharePoint along with their property values. So I'm not redirected to the edit properties page like before. Now I was redirected back to the list view, to the library view, and I see that all the properties, let me make it bigger a bit, quote date, quote ID, company and account are already populated. So everything is good. This was done automatically for me. Now, of course, if you have multiple types of document, not just one type of quote, sometimes you get quote with different layouts. So you might need to create multiple templates, like create 5 different templates for 5 different quotes. Okay, let's talk about the Scan App configuration options. Going back to my library here, to configure the Scan App in this library, I need to go to the QuizCom Apps toolbar menu. And here you'll see all the available QuizCom modern apps. In this case, I just have the Scan App. So let's click the Scan App configuration settings. So first property that you see here is inherit site settings. And this means that you can actually inherit settings from the site level and also from the site collection level. So if you have several libraries all having exactly the same settings, no need to configure each one of them separately. You can configure these settings in the site level and simply inherit these settings in each of these libraries. And inherit is checked by default. I unchecked it in this case. So if you are not inheriting the settings, you can set these properties. So you got here some default settings like auto-generate file name. This is where you can configure some name pattern for your generated scan files, your PDF files, for example. And you can use some tokens that you see here, like user date and time. You can select the default output format. I selected PDF, but you can select others. Of course, if you want to use the OCR capability, you should stay with PDF. There are some other settings like compress large files. This is relevant when you need to scan a very large number of papers and merge them into one single document, which might be a very big file. So you might want it to be compressed to a zip file before it is uploaded back to SharePoint. And other settings which allow you as the admin to control the capabilities given to users that are scanning. For example, do you allow users to perform bulk scans, like scan many papers and create many files, or allow users to select the scan mode? Sometimes you don't want the users to get confused by too many options and just have a single option. So if you uncheck this, users won't be able to select their scan mode like you saw in my demos, and you can set up the scan mode for them. Okay. And finally, if you have at least a single OCR property mapping template, like the one that I created, the QuizCon quote, you can set it as default or delete unwanted templates, duplicate templates, and so on. So that's it. It's quite straightforward. Okay, so in case you want to check out this product, let's go to our website. So you go to the QuizCon website, and here under Microsoft 365 apps, go to Content Management category, and here you'll see the Scan App product. Okay, so to see all the features and the differences between the standard and the professional edition, just scroll way down, you'll see all the features. As you can see, the OCR and the Zonal OCR are part of the professional edition. If you want to check out the product and install it on your tenant, go to free trial. This allows you to install it and use the free trial for 30 days. It's fully functional. You got this wizard. Now, all you have to do is type one of your sites URLs and click connect. Now, if this is the first time you're installing any QuizCon Modern app on your tenant, you have to be a global admin, because what it does, it uploads the QuizCon Modern apps package to your tenant catalog and deploys it. If it's not the first time, you don't need to be a tenant admin, a global admin, because it's already there, okay? So it will just activate it on your site. Now, if you don't like using installation wizard, just click manual instructions. It will take you to our online documentation, and you'll see the steps needed to install the app on your environment. Now, by the way, if you don't want to install the trial on your environment, you're not a global admin, or you don't have time to do it, you can check out the product on our public sandbox. So just send us an email to sales@quizcon.com or to my email, and we'll create a private sandbox site for you on our tenant. Okay, so it either works. Now, if you want to see documentation, you go here, and pricing is available here. Okay, and in case you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. You can contact me. Let me just show the slide again. This is my email, or again, you can contact sales@quizcon.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.